Hey there, everybody. Looks like we got Brandon in here. Videos by Al. How are you doing? Looks like we got 6 people watching, maybe. Oh, come on. I got to mute. Oh, wrong button. Got to mute the old YouTube. Senseless Fabrication, how are you doing? JB98. So I know this isn't Sunday, and I missed last Sunday, and I'm probably going to miss this coming Sunday because it's my daughter's 18th birthday this Sunday. So completely forgot about that, or I would have tried to squeeze one in last Sunday, but we were in Kansas City. So Tommy Vincent, Josh Road Tunes, how are you doing? Richard Savalio, how are you doing, Rich? Let's see. Okay, so G4 says AvE, how are you doing? G4 said AvE did a great explanation of it. John Warren, how are you doing? Leo James, how are you doing? Before we start any of this, says Stephen James in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, my thoughts are with you guys down there in Northeast Oklahoma, Southeast Kansas, Southwest Missouri, and Arkansas. Man, you guys are getting hammered down there. Terrible weather. Richard Savalio, who is AvE. AvE, he does a lot of, I think he's some kind of engineer or something. He's Canadian, very intelligent guy. He uses cuss words like commas, so it's not family friendly, but he's very knowledgeable. And since you brought that up, we'll just get into the meat and potatoes of this deal. I typically, and I've had people ask me to do accident assessment videos, and I kind of shied away from it, and I've been really torn on this one. The reason being is 4 people lost their lives in this accident, regardless of what caused it. 4 people are not going home to their families. It's a pretty emotional thing for me. It's one of those things, being a crane operator, I hate seeing stuff like that happen. And it could happen to any one of us just at the blink of an eye. And I don't want people to think that I'm trying to capitalize on that. That's not it at all. I'm one of those people that I would rather let those 4 rest in peace and let this thing go away. But AvE's video, in the comments, it raised a lot of questions. And, I tried to answer some of the questions in the comments, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get to all of them. So if anybody from AvE wants to come over and watch this video, I'm going to answer some of the questions they had. And even one of the things that AvE brought up, AvE said that, it could have been a microburst or something that caused the accident. That's not going to cause that crane to go over if it's in the correct position and proper procedures are taken. After watching AvE's video and looking at some of the other pictures on the internet, to me, and this is my speculation of it, someone obviously made some bad decisions, or someone's made some bad decisions. It looked like it was unpinned below the slewing ring at the top section of tower. And then it looks like also the pins were removed between sections 2 and 3. And then 2 pins, it looked like 2 pins were removed between section 4 and 5. Bottom line, the 2 iron workers that were on top of that thing that went down should have never been up there. That rig was unstable by the very nature of not having the pins in it, without another rig attached to it. So the decisions were kind of the contributing factor to it, and then the wind facilitated it. If it was perfectly calm, the way those tower cranes are put together, if it was perfectly calm, that crane should stand there without any pins in it. just by the way it's designed. I might have to get the whiteboard out if you guys want me to draw some pictures and whatnot, but the wind is what took it over. The procedures leading up to that is what facilitated all of that, or the wind being able to take it over. And like I said, again, this is just my opinion. I was not there. Obviously, I'm in the Midwest. But when you look at the carnage, the after effects of it, you can tell, and AvE pointed it out in his video, you can tell that those members where the pins would be in place weren't destroyed. So it's my thought that in order to speed the process up, they had unpinned below the slewing ring, unpinned between the second and third section, and then we're in the process of unpinning between section 3 and 4, and that would have taken it down to deck height. And then there'd still be some more sections down through the deck to the foundation. In doing that, you could pick the top section, the cab section. They'd already pulled the jib and the counter jib off the back, or the jib off the front, the counter jib off the back. And they were in the process of pulling the sections out between 3 and 4. But in doing that, they could make 3 picks out of it instead of 6. In theory, you could get it disassembled faster. However, when they did that, it put the crane in a position that it was no longer stable. Now, one of the questions I saw a lot on AvE's video, can those pins be removed without an assist crane? Absolutely. So I guess I'm going to get the whiteboard out, and don't laugh at my flannel pajama pants. It's comfy time. And we're going to do some crude drawing because I draw like a 5-year-old. So if you have your tower sections, we'll have one below it. Obviously not to scale. And if you've watched AvE's video, you'll see what I'm talking about. There'll be pinholes here, and a piece that comes up out of the bottom section into the top section, or vice versa. This piece is always in place in one section or the other. Hopefully you guys can see this. When these two tower sections come together, they actually rest on top of one another here and here. So the weight of the crane and its load and everything is transferred vertically down through the tower sections into the foundation. All the pins do is hold the sections together to keep them from being able to be lifted off. So if you got 4 legs on your crane, so we got, we'll just draw a line in for the joints. You've got your 4 tower sections there, and if your jib is hanging out over this way and you apply a load to the jib on the hook, then what it's effectively going to try to do is pull these sections apart on the back side. It's going to compress the ones on the front side and attempt to pull the sections apart on the back side. The way they counteract that is with the counter jib, which is on the back side, with some counterweight back here. Sometimes they have movable counterweight. But essentially, all those pins are for is to keep the sections from raising apart or being pulled apart. The pins are, and some of them are bolted, but they don't bear any weight. So those pins can be removed without an assist crane involved. You don't have to be lifting up on the tower section to get those pins out. Like I said, the tower sections bear weight on each other. They're transferred from one section down to the next. Once they're set in place, pins are put in. In AvE's video, he said, well, if you look at it, he was showing some video of them assembling a tower crane, and he said, well, they've got a crane hooked to the top of it, and they're putting the pins or bolts in. The reason why the crane was hooked to the top of that section was because they had to use the crane to set the section in place. So that's why the crane was hooked to that section. If it was dead calm, they could have, on AvE's video where they were showing the assembly, if it was dead calm outside, they could have stacked that section on there, cut the crane loose up top, and then just put their pins in. You don't have to take the weight off to get the pins out or the bolts. They're just there to keep it from separating. Now, in the event that a pin is stuck, which it does happen sometimes, one, they make big hammers, so you can generate a lot of force with a 16-pound sledgehammer. In the trade, it's called a beater. You got little beaters and big beaters. But they also have a tool that is a hydraulic pin remover, that some pins have a threaded insert in the center of them. And you can screw a piece into that threaded end of the pin, set up the hydraulic pin remover, and it will hydraulically remove the pins for you. So there's that. So Andy B said, can someone tell me what AvE is, please? AvE is a YouTube channel that has about 1 million subscribers. He's a fellow from up north in Canada, and he's a very intelligent guy. Don't watch any of his videos with your kids in the room, unless your kids are much older or you don't mind them saying stuff at daycare that would probably get them kicked out. So now, to dispel some of the other comments that I read on there, someone said, obviously the pins were never put in when the crane, or after the crane was put together. That is absolutely not the case. Had those pins been left out from the time the crane was assembled, that crane would have been on the news a long time ago. That crane would have come down probably within days of being put up. So the pins had to have been in place the entire time the crane was being used. Again, this is my speculation from the outside looking in. I was not there. Just by looking at the video and being a crane operator and being involved in stuff like this, there had to have been an assembly disassembly director involved, and he was either inexperienced or not. He or she was either inexperienced or not following procedure or cutting corners. Now, whether or not someone told him to do that, who knows? It could have been the decision of someone that leaves their hard hat on the corner of their desk more often than they will put it on top of their head. It could have been an inexperienced crew. It could have been all three. It's hard to say. Now, I can tell you that if I was part of the crew that was taking that thing apart and someone said, hey, we need to start knocking these pins out, working our way down the tower, I would go home before I made that decision. Because then you have this as a result. And it's a catastrophe. Catastrophe is not even a strong enough word for it. I don't know. It kind of has me shaken up a little bit. I'm angry in the fact that 4 people lost their lives because someone made a stupid decision. And I guess I'm angry because I'm passionate about that kind of stuff. So I'm sure, there's going to be people held accountable for it. It's hard telling how far that'll go. But another contributing factor that I checked on the news, and we all know how newsworthy news is, and I'm not even going down that road because it is what it is. But allegedly, a University of Washington professor logged wind speed of 35 miles per hour that day. I know the wind speed ratings on the Tadano that I operate, and I have to start deducting on my load chart at 25 miles per hour, puts me down to 50% of my load chart. At 27 miles per hour, I got to drop to 30%. And then at 34 miles per hour, I've got to put the crane away. That being said, if they maybe would have watched their weather forecast, 4 people would be sleeping in their beds tonight. So I don't know. And again, like I said, it's all speculation. But reading or watching some of the video and looking at pictures, it's pretty cut and dried. It's pretty easy to see. G4 Outdoors says it was a go home early move. Everyone does it. This was just in a bigger scale, just his opinion. So anyway, I wanted to touch on that. If you guys have any questions, I'll do what I can to answer them. I'm sorry I've missed all the comments. I was trying to explain all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. I was torn because I really hated to just keep throwing stuff on this accident, this fire and whatnot. But I also felt that, maybe the 4 people that lost their lives in it would maybe want someone to speak up and answer some of these questions. And I'm sure the questions will be answered, and people that were on site will make sure the questions get answered, and we'll probably figure out that I have it pretty much nailed down of what took place. And AvE did a pretty good job of explaining it. I mean, yeah, he was a little bit wrong on the one thing as far as you have to pull the weight off the tower sections to get the pins out, but that's not the case. So Senseless Fabrication says, can the pins be removed if it's in use? No. Every nut, bolt, washer, screw, pin, cotter pin, retaining pin, hairpin, everything that manufacturer has put on that machine has to be in place for the crane to be put into use. G4 Outdoor says, I would also bet the big boss had pressure on the crane crew to get it done. I'm sure there was some of that because, they had, I'm assuming it was a rental crane on site to assist with the disassembly. And rental cranes aren't cheap, but crane accidents are much more expensive than rental cranes. And lives, there's no value you can put on a life. So, those people have to live with that the rest of their lives. The people that were at the scene, they're going to have to sleep with that every day for the rest of their life. And it's going to be one of those things that sticks with a lot of people, messing a lot of people up. Josh Road Tunes, thank you for the clarity on some of the things I was unsure of. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, throw them at me. I'll do my best to answer them. Let's see, Senseless Fabrication. I mean, if they're using the crane, is it possible to remove the pins? It would depend on the position they have the crane in. But yes, it would be possible to remove the pins. Like, it would be physically possible to remove them. Taylor Aldridge, do you have somewhere burner that goes and looks at the next day's job to decide what crane is needed, what size model, depending on what is needed? We do. We have an equipment manager that sometimes goes out and looks at jobs. Sometimes I go look at the jobs. Depending on the customer, sometimes we just go off of what the customer tells us, and that's good enough, because we've got a lot of customers that we've had for years and years and years that know what they're doing on their job and know what they need. Casey Auto Doctor, what is your experience with road closure in general area around disassembly? Does it include crane collapse, fall zone? Typically, it does not. It would include roping off an area to keep people out of the area that anything could fall on them if it was being handled in a normal operation. I would say that after this, that's probably going to change some. At least I'm sure it will in Seattle. And other places like New York City, places like that, they have their own set of rules that go above and beyond what like OSHA and stuff requires. But typically your fall zone just includes an area of that's blocked off from anything that could fall during a normal operation. A crane falling over is not a normal operation. Yeah, Casey Auto Doctor said, so that explains why the road was not closed, only a secondary road where the sections were getting loaded onto the trucks. Andy B said, when the jib was put on your crane, I noticed you looked at everybody else's work. I do. We check each other, and you have to. And it's not that I don't trust those guys. If I didn't trust a person, I wouldn't work with them. Period. If I don't trust someone, I'll send them back to the shop. So I absolutely trust them. But we all miss things from time to time, and it's a good habit. I consider it a requirement that if you're going to operate a crane, you better make sure that everything is where it needs to be before you ever boom it up. Because ultimately, the guy sitting in the seat is the one that bears the responsibility. There you go. Sandy said it perfect. Trust but verify. Hey, Mike Manfred, how are you doing? And I saw a comment way up earlier in comments when I was drawing like a 5-year-old. Someone asked about the detail of the operating procedures. I don't know who it was, and I barely caught it. The operating procedures in a crane manual are very thorough. I mean, they are very thorough. Also, with that being said, the operator's manual can't cover every scenario. So when it comes to assembly and disassembly, I mean, you got right here. Here's the books for the 180G. That's the books for the upper and the lower. When you're assembling and disassembling, you better follow those procedures, because that is what is going to go in the courtroom with you. Let's see. BS just tuned in. Do you agree with his thinking? I agree with the fact that the pins were removed, what AvE said. That absolutely makes sense. The only part that I didn't agree with was the part where he said that you had to have something picking up on the sections to remove the pins. You don't; those pins don't bear any weight. They just keep the sections from being pulled apart. The sections rest on the section below them, so you can pull the pin. Some of them have bolts, some of them have pins, but you can pull them with the crane standing there by itself. You can knock them out. Okay, so doctor, is my question. Can you talk about how detailed each crane manufacturer's instructions are for the assembly disassembly process? Do they get into the exact steps to install and remove pins? When I'm putting together all 123 feet of jib on the Tadano, that book will tell you what order to put the pins in. It tells you how to boom it up and all of that, and what order to put the pins in. Also, during your crane training and crane assembly training, especially with crawler cranes, crawler cranes tend to be more dangerous when you're disassembling them because of the nature of how the crane's built. If you knock the wrong pins out, then the boom can collapse on top of the person knocking the pin out. But I mean, that's all stuff that you have to learn. And there's a certain degree of common sense that has to be involved. Sandy said the book can only get you so far, but something as crucial as assembly, disassembly, you darn word. Yeah, that's a fact. And and the books are also written by humans. So keep that in mind. And to prove that, I don't know if you'll be able to see this picture on my phone that I took the other day. Oh, come on. Come on, phone. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this and see if you guys can read this. This is a load chart from the Tadano 180G-5 that I've been operating for the last 2 years. And I haven't had to put it in this position, or I would have noticed this discrepancy in the load chart. So this chart I'm going to show you is it's for full span outrigger base with 79,366 pounds of counterweight with a boom length of up to 186 feet with 43 feet of jib offset to 40 degrees. I'm going to rotate this around and we will see if you guys can see the error. Come on, little camera. Right there where my pin is pointing. And over on this side is the working radius. Oh, my fingernail's dirty. That happens when you work. So the capacity goes from 8,600 pounds to 6,600 pounds at a farther radius, and then to 7,700 pounds at an even farther radius. That doesn't make sense. So I took a picture of it, sent it to Tadano. They're sending it to engineering, and they're going to get back with me. So Sandy said phone is camera shy. Michael McGuire says, thank you for sharing your perspective. I appreciate your take on the situation. Would have been me, or it looked like they pulled only certain pins. The whole tower didn't come apart. Okay, so Jeff Skews, they were leaving the sections. It looked like they were leaving the sections, 2 sections pinned together at a time. That would make a 40-foot section of boom, which is not uncommon to do. It's actually a little bit less. It's 39 and some change. It fits on a semi truck that way. So it's not uncommon, and I wouldn't consider taking a 40-foot section of tower out an unsafe practice, as long as your assist crane can handle the weight and you're in a position that you could handle a 40-foot section on the ground. I wouldn't consider that to be unsafe. It would make it faster. Instead of 2 picks, you got 1. So, Andy B, I don't guess this would be a good time for another cell tower. Yeah, no, I don't think any time's a good time for a cell tower. In for 66. Good morning. How are you doing? Good. It's evening here. I don't know where you're at, but it's 8 p.m. on Tuesday evening here. But Jeff, that's a common practice though, to pull 2 sections at a time. What is not a common practice is to knock the pins out below the slewing ring, knock the pins out between section 2 and 3, and then knock the pins out between section 3 and 4. So that is where the problem is. Jeff Skew says, job I was on the bay crane, they never pulled 2 at a time. Yeah, I mean, that when we transport the jib, like the inserts for the 180G, we pin 2 inserts together to make a 40-foot section of jib and set those side by side on the trailer, because it makes it faster offloading them. And the jib sections for the 180G, they only weigh 949 pounds a piece. But it does make jib assembly much quicker. Oh, and for 66 or 666 from Germany. Sandy said, I wonder if that's policy or insurance thing rather than real limitation. And I mean, that, like I said, it's all going to depend on the capability of the assist crane and the area you have to work with. Gerald LaRue said, I'm a crane operator in Texas, and I've noticed the same mistakes in my chart book since the crane manufacturer took 9 months to fix their mistake. Daniel Dean, you hit the nail on the head there. Taylor Aldridge, that is also correct. A lot of the assist cranes are 400 to 550 ton machines, depending on the job site. BS, do I think someone could be charged with a crime? I absolutely do. I also have gotten the question a lot, do I operate tower cranes? And my answer has always been no. And my other response has always been I didn't lose nothing up there, got no reason to be up there. And this kind of stuff just solidifies me in the fact that I am not going to operate tower cranes. And it's just one of those things. I'm not really afraid of heights, but I have a great deal of respect for gravity. So, Taylor Aldridge, I don't have my lattice boom certification. I've always just ran hydros. I've played in some lattice boom crawlers. I've assembled lattice boom crawlers. I've been around a lot of them, but I don't have my lattice boom certs. I didn't really see a need to. I mean, I'll probably retire from where I'm at, and the only lattice boom crane that we'll ever have is that old link belt that I'm not going to put my butt in. Her wife rocks. The thing with tower cranes is seasickness when lifting. The things with tower cranes is being that high up in the air too. And I had an old guy tell me one time, he said that in order to ensure your survival, you never put yourself higher than corn or lower than potatoes. There's a lot of truth to that. I also don't get in the ocean. And Sandy will probably comment on that here pretty quick, because he knows we're going to Florida this summer, and he is bound and determined to get me in the water. But anyway, I don't know how long I've been going on this. How long have I been going? About a half hour. Yeah, I figured he would comment there. So I don't know how long you guys want me to talk about it. Anybody have any more questions on it? Someone already gave me a thumbs down. That's awesome. Got 106 watching though. That's pretty spectacular. I haven't had that. Sandy says the ocean ain't scary. 9 times out of 10, the closest ground is just below your feet. Yeah, there's things in the ocean that can eat me. I'm staying out of the ocean. JDS, all things weather and news. How are tower cranes supported? Are there guide wires to stay? Nope. They sway in the wind, and it depends on how tall the tower is. They are very well engineered. So they have a very stout foundation. Sometimes they're held in place with just concrete counterweights at the bottom. Sometimes they have a stack of counterweights at the bottom. Sometimes they're anchor bolted to a concrete base at the bottom, and sometimes they're attached to the side of the building. It all depends on the height of the tower and what kind of rig it is. Alex Egenberger, there are more videos coming. Shane Davis, what job would I expect being a new crane operator apprentice? Being an apprentice, you're probably going to be an oiler for a while, and you're going to be cleaning. You're going to be cleaning glass. You're going to be starting machines, checking oil, assisting the operator is typically how that goes. Andy B, it happened in Seattle on Saturday. Daryl, we just bat toy stuff in the ocean. That's a fact. Omar Gomez, greeting from South Texas, a greeting from Missouri. Anthony says, I appreciate your professional input. I appreciate the comment you threw on AvE. You saw my comment on there, and I appreciate the comment that you put on there. Hunter Moreland says, I don't know much about this collapse. I'm sure you talked about it, but could you give a quick overview? Quick overview, tower crane in Seattle went down on Saturday. They were disassembling the tower crane, got ahead of themselves by knocking pins out. Wind hit it, took it over. That's my take on it. Southern Trucking, how hard is it to operate a hydraulic crawler crane? It is not very difficult. I mean, I say it's not very difficult. It takes practice. And if you have some crane experience, a hydraulic crawler would be nothing more difficult than any other crane. There you go. Richard Savlio answered the question. 175 feet freestanding. After that, they must be tied to the building. Oh, JDS, all things weather, says, when I lived in Salt Lake City, a guy in Utah rode out an F2 tornado. Nope. That has nope all over it. James Bergeron said, when I heard about the crane collapse, I instantly thought of you, Jimmy. And I assume there was a few people that were wondering when or if I was going to pipe in and say something about it. Like I said earlier, I typically don't like talking about crane accidents. I mean, it's definitely not the highlight of my day. Being a crane operator, it's not one of those things you want to really discuss a lot. But Halton Feeks, I would pack my parachute if I'm going to be in a tower crane. I've got an easier solution. I'm not going to be in a tower crane, therefore I will not need a parachute. Senseless Fabrication says Dad's friend ran the tower crane building in the stratosphere when it was being built. He was in the crane, it caught fire. Another reason why not to be there. Sandy says, kind of hoping you would. I appreciate your professional opinion on these things, though I know it's an uncomfortable topic for you. And it really is. It's one of those things I just don't take it lightly. I mean, I know there are people that aren't involved in the crane world. They talk about it like it's just news. You know, oh, did you see what happened out in Seattle? Oh, did you see that? I don't look at it that way. I mean, I look at the fact that there's 4 people that aren't going home to their families. Um, there's countless lives affected just because of the decisions of a few, and um, that I don't take that lightly. I mean, it will, if I sit there and talk about it enough. If you guys drew me into, I mean, I would get teared up over the situation, and I had nothing to do with it. I was nowhere near any of that. JDS All Things Weather and News. Have I done any windmill, cell tower, radio tower installations? Everybody can answer that one. I have a few cell phone tower videos on my channel. I don't like cell towers. I have been involved in the assembly of over 300 wind turbines. Haven't done any dedicated radio towers like 1,000-foot towers or anything. But our Rice Rock says, I'm surprised that mobile crane operators don't use remote controls. I would not want to operate my crane with a remote control. It is better to feel how the machine's moving. Taylor Aldridge, what do you think about Terex selling off their crane business one sector at a time? Tadano bought their DMAG crawler and hydraulic crane. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't really have much of an opinion on that. I know Tadano bought it for what I thought was pretty cheap, but that's from the outside looking in. I didn't look at all the financials and whatnot, but I don't have a problem with Terex selling out if that's what they feel was best for their business, as long as people get to keep their jobs. Sandy, no one comes out the other side of an incident like this the same man, woman they went into. That's a fact. Shane Davis, what procedures do you do to make a pick of an unknown weight? Well, one, the weight is supposed to be calculated before it's ever picked. 2, the standard says that you can pick a piece of unknown weight up to 75% of your capacity. So if you can't make the pick before you get to 75% capacity, you have to stop the pick and engineer it or calculate the weight. Hunter Moreland, by the way, I'm from St. Louis area, Jefferson County to be exact. Used to use Scott's crane when I did bridges. Dalton Feet, can we ban tower cranes and just have normal cranes? David Middleton says, how is everything? Hello from Spokane. How are you doing, David? And David, I'm sorry if I upset you yesterday when I asked you about commenting on the same thread. I absolutely meant no disrespect by that, and my goal was not to upset you with that. And I know there's a lot of people that don't do a lot of commenting, or they're not familiar with the platform. Um, when you put a comment up, if you keep going back to that same comment and commenting on the original one, then it keeps the thread all together. So if someone comes along and wants to read it, it's all together, kind of like the page on a book. But if you just comment in the video comment area, then it just puts it randomly in the comments section. So it just makes it harder to follow. But my intent was not to upset you with that. So I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad you're not upset with me. Stanford 373, can you come to Florida tomorrow? I have to set a shed over a mobile home with a crane. I don't think I can get there tomorrow. Taylor Aldridge said, I agree. I think Tadano got a deal. It'd be interesting to see how much Tadano ends up growing. Tadano is growing in a pretty rapid fashion. They've been building machines for a lot longer than what people realize, since the 50s. But they haven't really been a player in the United States up until about the last 10 years. But I'm sure you will start seeing them more and more. And it's not because of my YouTube channel. Well, okay, if anybody from Tadano is watching it, it's 100% because of my YouTube channel that Tadano is growing in the United States. But really, I can't take credit for that. Although I am probably getting them some publicity. And they do make great machines. And I don't say that just because I'm wearing one of their hats and I operate one of their cranes. They do build great machine. Justin Heil, what's up from Vancouver, Washington? How are you doing? Rambozo Clown, how are you doing? Rambozo Clown. Drew Bradley, how are you? James Bergeron says, I try to comment on all the videos. James, weren't you like maybe like my 300th subscriber or something? You've been here for a long time. Dave Middleton, I was not schooled on the comment thread. Now I am. Thank you. Yeah. If you ever have any questions, feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer them. Even if it's crane related, I'm one of those people, I will help anybody out that's willing to help themselves if I'm capable of helping them. I mean, I do what I can. I believe that the world would be a much better place if everybody helps each other. I mean, random acts of kindness go a long ways. Douglas Fogarty, do you have to be certified in each make and model of crane? I do not. We have to be certified based on classification of crane. Andy B says, thanks for coming on tonight, praying for all involved. Me too. I mean, that's my condolence. If anybody that was involved in that accident or near that accident, or a family member of someone that was involved, if anybody's watching this, my heartfelt condolences go out to each and every one of you. And the people that, and again, speculating, if a person made a decision that was a contributing factor to this stuff, I hope they're at some point able to find peace with themselves, but I also hope that they are held very accountable. Mike Manfred, I wonder who'll end up with the Terex Digger Derek booms. I don't know. Christabel, I'm doing well. How are you doing? James Berger, on the bracelet I did was inspired by you on the crane. I saw that on Instagram. That was cool. Shane Davis, what was my hardest pick? My most stressful pick was the cell phone tower that I did with 330 feet of boom. That was my most stressful. Plaza Towing, how are you doing, Trent? I vouch for helping each other. Jimmy is always willing to help. I always do what I can. I try. Brian Gardner, I think Terex tried to grow too fast by buying too many companies, and that can happen. Frank Hartmeyer says, hi, Jimmy. I've just been sitting here listening to this, and I agree with everything you have to say. Thanks for being part of it all, Frank. Trip Lipford down, Charles, Louisiana for Turner. Work around 100-ton cranes, 300-ton lattice cranes. Your vids have helped a lot. I'm glad they've helped you out. And if you guys want me to make a video of something that you think would help you out, throw it in a comment or shoot me an email. I've got an email. I get notifications on my email. I'll throw it on here. That also doesn't mean spam my email. If you do, I'll just block you. Drew Bradley thought about doing stickers, shirts, hats, etc. Not yet in time. Hopefully, I'm all out of stickers. I've had some stickers made, and I was giving some away, and that got expensive. That got really expensive pretty quick. Shirts, I've got them on Teespring. I guess I can get back on Teespring and design some stickers and hats and all that stuff, and just give you guys an outlet to get that stuff if you want it. I'm not on here to promote selling merchandise, and I'm not on here to make money, but I'm also not on here to lose money. So with that being said, I think my first go around ordering stickers, and I hope my wife's not watching this, but I spent about $150 on stickers. And yeah, it starts getting expensive. Lester Thompson, Terex can turn a quality company around. Chris DeBoga just got home about 2 hours ago from Burlington. Our Weiss Rock. So the video you made over the trailer behind your crane was really interesting. It looked totally alien to me, as we don't use those types of things in Europe. I wish we didn't use those types of things here. They're that boom dolly is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but we have to have it for our bridge laws because of the weights that are involved. BS, any update on the second channel? The hammer is about half done. I haven't had a chance to work on it the last 2 weeks. Had to do a bunch of work to my son's car. I pray for everybody that's driving around my son, because my son's 16 and he is now on the streets on his own. So, man, that's stressful. But I had a bunch of work to do on his car to get it to pass inspection. In Missouri, we still have motor vehicle inspections. So I've kind of been derailed here and there on the hammer and haven't made it as much a priority as what I probably need to. Worked on it some Friday, worked on my truck Saturday in the garage. Yeah, just busy. Gunnar Helton, hello. Shane Davis, what makes a pick stressful? Height, signal guys, weather, combination of all, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, any one of those can make a pick stressful. The people you're working with, the people that are in the immediate vicinity can make things stressful. There's a lot of factors that go into it that can make it stressful. One of the most stressful things for me, and I'm sure it boils down because I don't do it a lot, and I'm glad we don't do it a lot, but it's real heavy stuff up high. The reason being, there's no out. If something starts happening, you can't just set it down. You're married to it. So, Drew Bradley, is there anything special about the hydraulic oil in the crane? Nothing special other than the fact that it's high temp and it holds a lot of it. In the upper, there's $4,000 worth of hydraulic oil in it, and I know that because we just changed it last year. 270 gallons, I think. Weiss Rock said they prefer to move the boom on the bigger crane sizes, 700 ton and over. Yeah, over here, I think they prefer you to remove the boom at probably right around 350 or 400 tons. Sandy, my dad got a lot of his gray hairs after we got all got our driver's license. Taylor Aldridge said, Jimmy, I want to say, Jimmy, I appreciate your channel. Keep up the videos. I appreciate you being part of it. Oh, yeah. Dave Middleton commented this on one of my videos. He said he's looking for someone in Idaho so he can get his CDL back. Washington wants him to go back to truck driver school. too expensive, plus don't have time. He needs an Idaho address. I don't know if that's legal or not. I don't know if it's illegal. But if anybody in Idaho can help Dave Middleton out, reach out to him. Drew Bradley, 4,000. Yeah, that was a lot of hydraulic oil. James Berger on say, seen on Instagram, one of our crane companies got a new 550 and a 360 Liebherr, all terrains. So Dave's got 37 years experience driving. I was 5 years old, Dave. No offense. Well, glad to see the model cranes are rock solid tonight. They are standing on their own. I did have one on a previous live stream that decided to go over. Mike Shetler, have I ever done tree work? I have. I don't particularly care for tree work. A lot of that is, I mean, if you have a good crew, then the tree work is not bad at all. If you have someone that is trying to cut trees in half when you're in a little crane, it can go south pretty fast. Casey Auto Doctor, Dave Middleton, look into a remailer service. They're commonly used by RVers that travel around the USA but want to take advantage of Idaho vehicle registration and tax law. There you go, Dave Middleton. I hope that helps out. Ryan Kesey, hello from Ohio. Enjoy the channel. Ever run any old friction rigs? No, sir. And I am not going to run any old friction rigs. We own one, and I'm going to do my best to stay away from it. Timothy Barney, I need a few Lego cranes. Dave Middleton said they want a street address. I don't know how far all of that is. Chris DeBoe, we are an hour from Kansas City, Missouri. Drew Bradley asks a good question. Is the cable allowed to have woven splices at midpoint of the spool or just replace the whole wrap? You replace the whole cable. Shane Davis, the deflection is not factored into the load chart. Your radius does change with deflection, but as long as you hold your radius, then your chart should be good for whatever radius you set yourself up for. Dennis 496 Stroker, how are you doing? My neighbor to the south. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. We changed internet providers, and I'm doing everything with a Wi-Fi card in my desktop now. So hopefully this is all coming through okay. Before I had a dedicated landline for my computer into our router, but now I'm just running off a wireless card. Stanford 373, what exactly is a friction crane? Sandy's on it. Instead of hydraulics, they use friction clutches to run the winches and such. David Middleton, a friction rig cost me, got him hurt in 06, shattered elbow, broke wrist, shoulder blown out. That would be a bad one. Andy B, do I have any pics coming up soon? I've got some footage of a house that we set the other day. On that house job, I had to have the Leavenworth, Kansas Police Department shut down a bridge so I could go across it. So there's that footage in there. What else do I have coming? I've got some footage that I need to get edited and uploaded. I don't remember what all I've got stored on my computer. All right, so I guess the wireless card's working out okay. And then also, since we've got 113 people watching, Trent and I have been talking back and forth, and we are going to see about doing a live stream together. So those of you who don't know who Trent is with Plaza Towing. They're a towing company out of California. He has a very good channel. Puts up a lot of video about 400 times more than I do. So is that something that you guys would want to partake in as a live stream with Trent and I? And then also maybe see if we can get Ron Pratt in, maybe do a 3-person live stream. Mike Manford said, "Look, sound good in North Florida." I don't know about looks. I mean, this is the best. This is the best I can do with looks. As long as the sound's there, we're good. Douglas Fogarty is 180, the largest crane to operate. That's the largest crane that we own. Mike Schutler, have I experienced a problem or lockout while I had a load suspended? No. Nope. I did have the crane go into D rate, but I didn't have a load on the hook. Trent said he's all for it. BS says, yes, your live stream with Ron was good. Ron Briggs, a 3-person stream would be cool. Feed is fine. So let's plan that sometime, Trent. Let me know when you're going to be available. And then also, I talked about doing it last Sunday. How was the concert Sunday? You said you were going to a concert. Sandy said the PTO kicking out the Manitex would have been a real PI. Yeah, it sucked. But the PTO is fixed now. I chased that problem for a year. Yeah, Sandy, I chased that PTO problem for a year before I figured it out. And finally got it done. Had to replace a relay. It had an undersized relay in for the PTO solenoid. The way that transmission's set up is it's got an Allison automatic, so it uses line pressure from inside the transmission to engage a clutch on the PTO pump. And there's a little spool valve down there that sends that line pressure into the clutch. And the relay that controlled that spool valve was undersized and getting hot. Shane Davis, if I get good knowledge, which I am, I will watch and support. Your answers are great. Well, thanks for that, Shane. Anthony, I haven't seen any Tadano over here on the East Coast, but I try to stay away due to insurance liability. Manitowoc plant is just north of me. They had an accident there just last year. Construction Cronies, how you doing, Chris? Used to be Chris Conkle Vlogs. Says, hey, Jimmy, can't stay on the chaos stream, but wanted to say hi and hit the like. Well, thanks for stopping in. Sandy, that did do it. It definitely did do it. Plaza Towing says we've been busy since March 1st building the Coachella and Stagecoach Festival. Actually going to enjoy the festival. Sunday was awesome. Or actually got to enjoy the festival on Sunday. Yeah, Trent sent me a picture the other day. Trent, you mind if I share it on here? I'll wait till I get a response from Trent. Make sure he's good with me showing you guys pictures of what he was doing the other day. Oh, says go for it. Don't worry, I'll put your phone number in right next to it for everybody. I'm just kidding. I'm not putting your phone number in. But here's Trent the other day playing in a 100-ton link belt. You can see it's boomed down. And then the other pictures he sent, let's see, inside the cab, instrument panel, and then the LMI. And I looked to see how much boom he had out. And if you zoom in, it's 0% on every section. So, Trent, one of these days you got to make it to Missouri. I'll put you in the Tadano and we'll run out about 150 feet and play with it. And if you get really good with 150 feet, then I guess we can run 197 out. I'm not swinging the jib for you, though. That's too much work just to play with it. Justin Howe said, like both Ron Pratt and Plaza towing. Mike Schuler, do I carry a spill kit and storm grate covers on your crane for hydraulic line brakes? And if so, what size spill kit? We don't have a spill kit on the crane, but we have got a whole bunch of pig mats and whatnot in the support truck. Casey Auto Doctor at Sandy, if you like IR temp guns, then would you really? Oh, you would really like an IR temp video camera. I wish I had an IR camera. Drew Bradley, does that mean he's going to come up off of some of his cash and buy one? Plaza said we had 50 foot out there, got to put it all away. That was fun. Crane operator got the block swing and had to make me fix it. Super neat experience. Yeah, until you've actually been in a crane with the block going crazy, it's kind of hard to understand sometimes how difficult it is to get that under control. James Bergeron says, unfortunately, my newest video I'm going to work on will probably cause me a copyright strike. Is that because of audio, or are you using someone else's footage, or why is that, James? Timothy Barney used to work down this street, old airport runway drag strip from New Pig back in Pennsylvania. James Bergeron, if your audio is going to get, if the audio you're going to put in that video is going to get you a copyright strike, then cover it up with some different audio. I would not recommend getting a copyright strike on your channel. They're a little more lenient about them than what they used to be, but I wouldn't get a copyright strike. If you know you're going to get one, I would do what you can to avoid it. I actually, early on, one of my videos, and I used a song from YouTube's Creator Studio library, and it came up as a copyright strike, and I just deleted the video and redid it because I don't want any copyright strikes. 45 Nuts, dismantling the world's largest tower crane title on YouTube, disassembly of the Kroll 10,000 crane. I'll have to look for that one. Chris Dubois asks if Plaza Towing Trent, does your dad have a YouTube channel, or do you guys just share the Plaza Towing channel? I'm gonna check on my phone, see if I lost any subscribers from this video. Sometimes that happens. Oh, actually gained one. Oh, James Bergeron said I got a video from Monster Jam Sunday. I'm changing my style of editing for Alex Williamson's Blind Adventures. He called me out on my editing style. He called me out early on, and that's why when I did that time lapse video, I've been wanting to do a time lapse video for a long time, but I knew doing it I was gonna have to put music over it, and I hate doing that because I know Alex really likes watching my videos because he likes listening to them. He's blind, so he can't watch them, but he likes to listen to them. So he likes to listen to the engines revving. He likes to listen to my commentary, and it gives him a feel for what's going on. So I try to avoid doing stuff like that. But that was over an hour worth of footage, and I had to do something with it. So I might see. Actually, I'm going to edit that footage from that box culvert job, and I will make a full length video, but it's going to be a long one. I'll probably cut some of it out and maybe try to knock it down to about 45 or 50 minutes, but it's still going to be a really long video. Mike Schuler asked, what exercises do you have to perform for practical test for recertification? For recertification, you don't have to do a practical test if you've got more than 1,000 hours of seat time in the previous 5 years. So I didn't have to do a practical test. I just had to take a written test, which was 55 questions from the original test. And it's a tough test. I mean, it's one of those that makes you think. I did pretty well on it. I studied for it again and just touched up on everything and spent a few weeks just going over everything to make sure that I was going into the test with some confidence. And I think I ended up getting a 92 on it. So that shows none of us are perfect. Sandy said next adventure is going to be loading 66,000 gallons of diesel fuel into one of my customers. That's a lot of diesel fuel. Shane Davis said, being the person blindly guiding the operator on the radio, I always take pride in hitting the spot first try, no adjustments. Made me want to operate a crane. Is there a point you get mad at the radio guy? Absolutely, there is a point. I like to know how far off the deck I am when I'm setting a piece. I don't like last minute stops. Like if I'm swinging right or swinging left, especially if I have a lot of boom out, I like a little heads up that I'm getting close. That way I can start slowing down. Everything, the radio guy can make the guy in the seat smooth or jerky. And I've had guys signaling me and the crane will be a little jerky, and it's because of the signals I'm getting from them. Typically I can be really smooth with that crane, but if they're giving me signals like this, and then instantly this, and then this, and then this, and then swing, and then this, it makes the crane pretty jerky. I would rather have a heads up that they want me to start slowing down and whatnot. Sandy, that's a good idea. So, James, sometimes if you insert pauses or interludes in the clip, it'll reduce the chances of a strike. Ryan Gardner says, I was guessing on the box culvert they put in a 12-inch slab and anchored the sections to the slab. I don't think the sections are anchored, and I don't know that it's 12 inches thick. They basically just did that to have a flat, smooth surface to work on so they could slide the sections of culvert sections together. Each end of that box culvert has a poured wing wall going on it or already on it. If you guys want me to, I'll run by that job site. It's not very far away from where our shop is, but I'll run by that job site and record some updated video and show you guys how it turned out. Trip Lipford, we have 100-foot tall tower cranes that are operated from remote, and the open walks around the rigger as he operates. Huh. I ran off electricity. It sucks. Sandy said, yeah, it's basically 2 full rail cars and never 2 diesel fuel, enough to keep their data center running isolated from the grid for 96 hours. Oh, wow. That's a lot of diesel fuel in 96 hours. Okay, so Rainbows of Clown, Casey Auto Doctor said it'd be nice to see an update on that project. So when I get a chance, I'll run by there and shoot some video. And I'll incorporate that into the full-length video that's already going to be close to an hour long. I guess I'll put it at the end to get everybody to watch that video to the end. But it's 9:15 my time. Wayne Peace at data centers use not only power for computers but AC to keep them cool. That makes sense. I really just wanted to jump on the stream for a little bit and talk about AvE's video. some of the stuff that I saw in there, my thought on it, and then offer my condolences to those people that were involved, and maybe put in perspective on what may have actually taken place. Like I said, it was all speculation. I wasn't there, um, but it's not one of those things that I take lightly. Brian Gardner missed the first part of the video. Yeah, it was tower crane that came down in Seattle. Wayne P said tower sections, if the pins are slip fit, how far will a joint spread with the pins in them? If you know, or is it a random amount? They shouldn't really open up at all. I mean, all that stuff's precision made, but the pins will still come out with the tower sections sitting on top of each other. But anyway, that was the main goal on putting this video out, was to answer some of the questions that AvE was getting in comments on his video, and to let everybody know and let AvE know that, he kind of got it wrong on the disassembly of the cranes, of those tower cranes, of being able to pull the pins without lifting up on the section and all that. So yeah, Brian Gardner, I have seen a portable tower crane. It wasn't a portable that went over. It was engineered. The base was actually down through probably an elevator shaft, or a hole in the deck, clear to the ground. So with that being said, no one knows what tomorrow brings. So don't go to bed angry. Take the time to let the people that you care about know that you care about them. There's 4 people Saturday that didn't go home to their families because of the actions of a few people. So anyway, hopefully I answered some questions. Hopefully I didn't create more questions on the situation. Hopefully some of the people that were watching AVEs will come over this way and at least learn some of it. But KCR Doctor, thank you for doing this live stream and covering the subject in a very sensitive way. Yeah, I get teared up over it. It's one of those things, man. It just hits a guy. It hits a person that's familiar with the industry. People can walk by and see it and not give it a second thought. People can sit around their dinner table and talk about it like it wasn't anything too serious, but being a guy that sits in the seat, I understand the ramifications of your actions and it's a bad deal. It can happen to any one of us. So with that being said, I'm going to go hang out with my family. You guys all have a good night. If you feel like going over to AvE and pointing out that I did this video to answer some questions for him, please feel free to do so. If you want to, I don't know if you can throw a link to this video in on one of his. I'm not going to go over and do it. I've commented a lot on AvE's video. He's probably tired of seeing me there. But if you guys want to go over and let people know that I answered some questions, I would appreciate it. I'll get some more video edited, get it out there. But everybody have a good rest of the week. Stay safe. And don't miss an opportunity to let people know that you care about them. So with that, To the Top Cranes out.